Hi, my name is Ankita Avadani, and my final project for MSDS 411 was utilizing the Ames housing dataset. A little bit about myself before I dive into my project. I'm currently a marketing analyst at Adobe. I've been there for around 1.5 years, and I really love my job. I do a lot of customer segmentation analysis for document cloud products such as Adobe Sign and Reader. Outside of work, I really enjoy skiing. And I love to ski in Lake Tahoe, and I'm very excited to do that once this pandemic ends. Another fun fact about me is that I went to the University of Michigan for my undergrad, so I forever go blue, even in the Northwestern Games, unfortunately. And lastly, this is my 9th course in the MSDS program. I've taken courses like MSDS 410 and Practical Machine Learning, and I really enjoy analytical modeling. And now I can dive right into my project. So my main goal in the summary for utilizing the Ames housing dataset was to answer these two questions that I posed. First question being, what variables of homes increase the sales price, and how can we describe descriptors for these homes in a concise manner for the Ames housing dataset? The second question I had was, how can we segment potential customers utilizing socioeconomic variable that tied to the pricing of housing variables in this Ames dataset as well? Because I do a lot of customer segmentation in my daily job, I wanted to see if there was a way that I could apply segmentation in this project as well and see if there was an optimal type of customer that we could sell an Ames, Iowa home to based on the quality and price. And now I can go in and show you how I tried to get this analysis and what my results were. So the data sets I used were the Ames housing dataset, and this was given to us in MSDS 410 and also 411 as well as an option for this project. And then I actually went out and found my own data set called Zillow Housing Dataset on customer segmentation. I ended up finding this data set on Kaggle competition specifically to see how a marketing campaign affected a customer's choice in buying a home. And as you can see, there are many variables and descriptions for describing this customer. They have median income, sales price, homeowner, age, and more. There also are variables showing the impact of a marketing campaign. This is a binary variable that essentially said, yes, they bought a home because the campaign influenced them. Now, this was all collected through this Kaggle competition, but I wanted to see if I could apply this dataset to my analysis for the Ames housing dataset as well to see if there was a marketing campaign effectiveness for customer segmentation. And now we can get into my analysis. So the first thing I did was a classic EDA for both the Ames housing dataset and the Zillow housing dataset. And here we have a parallelogram of the housing variables. As you can see, I actually ended up using all the variables of the Ames dataset. I just removed the null values and the duplicate values as well, but I thought that I should include all the variables since I thought all of them were important in terms of analysis. And there's some obvious correlations right off the bat. For example, the higher the total square footage of the house, the higher the sales price is. But also there's some negative correlations as well, like house age. The higher the house age, the lower the sales price is. And after removing all the nulls and the duplicates, these correlations explain around 43% of the data. And now we can get into the methods. I essentially split my methods into two different analyses. One was split into the housing Ames dataset, and the second was the Zillow housing dataset. And at the end, I basically brought my analysis together using kind of like a manual process to kind of make insights to answer my two questions posed in the beginning of this presentation. So now we can get into it. So the first type of analysis and model I did was TS&E for the Ames housing dataset. Using TS&E analysis, we can clearly see a separation of attributes into similar clusters. Essentially, we can see that homes with similar quality and value can be found in distinct area of the plots, showing that there's similarity in homes of comparable quality and other characteristics, meaning that a home with greater living area and total bath are all related to each other. The same way a home with the similar pricing square foot and year built are also related as well. And we can see around 6 different clusters from this TS&E analysis. I then wanted to see if there were any further analysis I could understand, so I did hierarchical clustering. And basically, we could see that the home attributes fall into 6 main clusters. However, this didn't really tell me anything more that I did not know from the TS&E analysis, and I ultimately chose to discard the results of this hierarchical clustering because it didn't provide me any new information on the dataset. However, I wanted to conduct a PCA on the Ames housing dataset because I wanted to kind of segment the data as well. Using a PCA, I was able to set the cutoff for 80% of the explained variance, which contained within the first 5 components. And then I was able to understand that the top 6 variables that directly related to sales price were total square foot, price per square foot, overall quality condition, and house age as well. And this kind of aligns with the initial parallelogram that I saw as well in my EDA. I then wanted to explore the Zillow data to see if I could correlate these 2 data sets. I did a density plot for annual income, which shows the annual income for a customer, and then I wanted to see their spend score. Basically, I understood that most of the customers ended up spending 40% of their savings on a house for a house priced in the same sort of like range as the Ames dataset housing. I then wanted to conduct more analysis, so I did a random forest on the Zillow data as well, which is actually a supervised modeling technique. And I found out a lot of information about this types of data sets, but nothing really that deep in terms of like things that I didn't know. In order to understand more, I actually went in and did a logistic regression for the Zillow data set. And this told me a whole lot more. Basically, I kind of realized that the variables online credit and homeowner variables were showing up multiple times. And I assumed that these factors were already being targeted by the campaign because remember, there was campaigns in this Kaggle data. So I ended up removing these variables and refitting the logistical model and had an accuracy of 76%. And the ROC curve shows that we can create results that are slightly better than random. I then went in to see if I could segment the customers based on this data using a k-means clustering for the Zillow data. The k-means is described as below, and the clusters are shown as Cluster 1, customer data with high annual income, high annual spend. Cluster 3, customer data with low annual income and low yearly spend. Cluster 2, high annual income and low yearly spend. 5, low annual income but highly yearly expenditure. And lastly, 6 and 4, which are clusters with customer data with medium income salary as well as medium annual spend. And I wanted to take the optimal number of clusters and tie this into the Ames housing data set to see what type of cluster we should target when marketing campaigns for housing sales in this area. And this led me to develop my final model for the Ames data set. I essentially created a predictive linear model from the data set. I utilized mainly the PCA analysis since there were clear groupings. I used 8 components, which explained 80% of the variance, and I used this classic 70-30 split for the test example, which yielded over 84% accuracy. My model was relatively accurate in terms of the sales price of homes that ranged from $136,000 to $260,000. And this is the price range that I wanted to link to the Zillow housing data customer segmentation results as well. I also did a quality forecast as well with the quality of the house, but these results were less accurate, especially for the houses marked as quality level 3. This is probably because this is a sort of qualitative sort of factor in the housing, so numerically it wasn't as strong as something as a value forecast. However, I still think it was important to note that I did create a slightly accurate forecast of housing selling. Lastly, I wanted to tie together the types of customers that would buy housing in my most predicted range. And I found that cluster 4 and 6 target customer who have a median income of $50,000 to $60,000 a year are the target demographic for marketing sales of homes priced $130,000 to $460,000 a year with home quality 3 in the Iowa area. And this actually answers my questions of how we can segment potential customers utilizing socioeconomic variables in both the Ames and Zillow housing dataset. I found that I was able to answer my questions, but there are always some limitations and also achievements sometimes that have happened. So some limitations include that not all tests and models were accurate. As you remember, the hierarchical clustering did not really tell me much. Same for the Zillow data set as well. Finding the Zillow data set was actually really difficult as well. This is because I wanted to find campaign data that also had customer data for specifically people trying to find and buy houses. Also, another thing is that I kind of had to manually link the Zillow site analysis to the Ames dataset. And I would like to actually improve this process for the future by creating one model that integrates both data sets so I don't have to eyeball which data set works with which analysis as well. However, one achievement from this project that I felt was that I was able to produce a good and accurate analysis for both data sets to answer both the proposal questions. However, I would like to improve the accuracy of these and the optimization in terms of model development over time. Overall, this was a really fun project. I got to expand on my knowledge of the Ames housing data set, apply new techniques that I learned throughout the classes, and also explore alternative data sets to link to this current data set to produce new analysis that was really interesting to me. Thank you for a great quarter. This class was amazing, and hopefully I get to apply everything that I learned to in work. Thank you.